When I say elite, I want you to yell back builders. Elite! Builders! Elite! Builders! Everybody's like, yo, what did I just walk into? It's like a cult. What's going on?
We've saved the best for last. Give him a huge round of applause to Aaron Novello.
Grown-ups, in between, churning babies.
I know you've been sitting for a while. You can stand up, kind of shake it out, right? Move it out a little bit. I'm frequently asked on panels or on podcasts if I have any regrets during my 17-year career selling real estate in high volume, coaching some of the top agents in the country, some of them here in this room. And I was thinking about it recently. Somebody asked me, so I took the time to really, really think about it. And I came up with 2. And I would like to be vulnerable, just like our boy Jose was vulnerable in the room, and share them with you because I feel very comfortable with you guys. Would that be okay? Yes. Okay, good. So the first regret is taking us back to 2011, okay? 2011, I'd been selling real estate for 4.5 years. I was maniacally and obsessively pursuing a goal of hitting 100 transactions a year, okay? It consumed all of my being. I gave blood, sweat, and tears, right, to accomplish it. And we're in the month of October, and I'm close. I'm like right there. All I have to do is just finish strong, okay? That's all I got to do. And Halloween is approaching. My son is 1 year old, okay? It's his first Halloween. And I'm like, all right, I want to go to the Halloween and do trick-or-treating, but I got this goal of 100 deals, and I'm close. So I schedule an appointment for Halloween at 4:30. Because I figure, yeah, look at the moms, they're like, Because I figure, what's up, brother? I figure, I'm a trained professional. I'll be in and out in 30 minutes. Contract signed, move on, right? I'll be back. My wife's like, are you sure? I'm like, I got this. So I sit down at the listing appointment, and it's like $100,000 listing, like not 55 and older, not anything fantastic, but it gets me closer to the 100, right? And I sit down, and instantaneous when I sit down, have you guys ever seen those memes that are like, at this moment, he realized he fucked up, okay? As soon as I sit down, he's a talker's talker, okay? He is telling me his whole life story from start to finish. He does not breathe for 35 minutes. But then, to put the icing on top of it, I find out as he's blabbing and telling me his whole life story that he is a retired negotiator for unions. Anybody who's been on appointments know, as soon as you hear that shit, I was like, oh my God. He is somebody whose identity is wrapped up into negotiating and getting a good deal. But then I have Halloween happening behind me. So I'm like, all right, let's get to it. I do the presentation. We get to the part about commissions. Your boy's a trained professional. We go round and round in a circle for like 40 minutes because he's a retired union negotiator. And finally, exasperated and frustrated, I'm just pissed off at this point, and I get up and leave. Okay? It's dark out. I didn't get the listing, and I also didn't get an opportunity to witness Sebastian's first Halloween. You'll notice in this picture, the people that are here. That is my mom. That is my wife, Carla. That is Sebastian, who greeted you guys. Who is missing from that picture? Because I wasn't there. Okay? The second regret happened more recently, and it happened as a result of somebody in this room. I was on a coaching call with Lars. He was my coach. Coaches get coached. And he likes to start his coaching calls in a very interesting way, something that I was not accustomed to, nor did I like. Because I'm a hard-charging type A personality. So he would say, hey, I want you to give me professional wins. And I'm like, great, got that. Then he's like, personal wins. And on the personal wins, guys, struggles. Grasping at straws, like groping, like I had nothing. Professional wins, though, guess what? Got along with this, right? And finally, Lars is like, he's so gracious, but he finally is like exasperated with me. And he's like, look, dude, if you don't come back to the next call with a personal win, we're not going to do this anymore. As a hard charger, he got my attention. Okay, he means business. He's not fucking around, right? So I proceed to start to pay attention and look for a personal win. And I am so excited because I got one. I'm like, ask me that question. I'm ready, right? So I'm like, yeah, like get past the professional wins. Just ask me the personal one. I'm ready. So he's like, personal wins. I'm like, I got it. I went to my son's soccer game. Now, to put that in the context, the year previously, I had only gone to one of his soccer games at school. Now, the reason is because they're at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That would mean I don't have to stop what I'm doing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, drive to Summit Cuesta, watch the game, pretend like I'm watching it, fucking, and then drive back, right? Totally interrupt me doing all my transactions. So I'm like, yeah, dude, I went to this game, and I'm like so proud. I'm like, I went to my son's soccer game. But then I shared with him, I was like, playfully, here's Sebastian's reaction. When he saw me at the game, he went like this. He was shocked. When I said that to Lars, I was joking, playing. I was like, yeah, bro. He was like this. Bro, Lars looked at me through Zoom into my soul, and he said to me, that's terrible. I'd never had anybody speak to me in that way. If you ever got the wind knocked out of you, that's what that question felt like to me, or that statement. And I didn't know what the way is, but I was going to find the way or make the way, right? I had turned myself into the type of person that can sell 2,000 homes, 80% of that business listing sold, do it year after year after year after year, 100 deals a year, 10 years in a row, 200 deals a year twice. It was no longer acceptable to me to trade off what I was trading off in my personal life. It was not acceptable anymore. But I didn't know what the way was. Have you ever in a personal context or a professional context said, I don't know what the way is, but I'm gonna either find the way or make the fucking way? Anybody besides me? Yeah, that's the state that you need to get yourself into. And that question and some other things helped me to get in that state, because in the right state, you'll come up with the right story and the right strategy. As a coach, people come to us and want to talk about strategy, but it's really about your state of being, because in the right state, you'll figure it out. So I was in the right state, but I didn't know what to do. So what I did is I surrounded myself with the best coaches, the best trainers, the best mentors. Some of these people that are in this room. Because I believe you're one relationship away from changing your family tree for the rest of your life. We heard that from Jose. And some of those relationships, I was that relationship for him, one of them, but Lars and John are those relationships for me. Okay? And I really started to think about leverage, really started to look at different vehicles, different strategies, different approaches, because a lazy mind's answer is just to work harder. Listen to what I just said to you. All you guys grew up in families that 65% of us live paycheck to paycheck. You heard shit like money doesn't grow on, eat all the food on your, and a penny saved is a penny, which is horseshit because it's a penny. And if you want it done, you got to do it guys, isn't it funny that like we all are like chanting the same thing, like the Pledge of Allegiance? It's just programming, guys. But look at the people who gave you that programming. What are their lives like? Difficult. Right? This is true. So I got access to the best trainers, the best coaches, the best mentors, really expanded my thinking, started thinking about vehicles differently, started thinking about leverage differently. And in the calendar year of 2023, I only missed one of Sebastian's soccer games. I have not sold one piece of real estate in 13 months. And my residual income from investments and rev share supersedes my living expenses by a factor of 2. Now, I believe everybody in this room, okay, with the right strategy, the right proximity, the right understanding of this vehicle, okay, and the right understanding of leverage, you can do anything I've done in half the time, okay? I spent the last 17 years of my career selling 2,000 properties, right? Starting a coaching company, 100 coaching clients, 12 of which make over $1 million a year. All of that was to prepare me for this. You can spend a whole lifetime preparing yourself for one opportunity, and I'm telling you, this is it. So I'm gonna share with you 3 things today, okay? The first one is I'm gonna give you examples of other companies that do rev share. You just don't realize it or think about it. And I promise you, when I share them with you, you'll know them immediately, okay? The second thing we're gonna have a brief conversation about is actual leverage, because there's different forms and different types. And truthfully, until 19 months ago, I had a rudimentary understanding of leverage. And I would propose most of you do in this room, okay? We're gonna talk about this thing called the opportunity ladder, and you can start to ask yourself a question where you are on the opportunity ladder, and then I'll show you what this vehicle has done for me. Who's up for this? Say aye. Aye. Let's go, one more time. Who's up for this? Say aye. Aye. That's what I'm talking about, good. So the first person we're gonna talk about that has participated in a rev share opportunity is this guy. How many people know who this guy is? Yeah, okay, so you may have a goat, but that doesn't make him the goat. This guy is the goat, okay? Now, most people don't realize is the vast majority of his wealth was created via rev share. What am I talking about? Well, let's take a look at this. Do you think this will play?
I'm sorry?
Not all Nike shoes, just the ones with his name on them.
Oh, Mrs. Jordan, so that's not how the business works at all. I mean, I understand the assumption, but what the athletes get a licensing fee. In this case, obviously, a groundbreaking fee, but they don't actually participate in the gross sales of the shoe. And because Nike's a public company, so that they can't, that would disrupt the industry, and there's a whole other set of economics around this. It's very complicated.
Yeah, I'm sure it's quite complicated.
Realistic, but this way it's cleaner, because you know, and the family knows exactly what's going to come in every year.
Well, that's not his concern.
Okay.
Right.
Uh-huh.
His concern is that in order for the shoe to be meaningful, in order for young people, many not of real means, to want to go out and spend the money that they've worked all week, 2 weeks, at the mall for, then Michael has to create the meaning in that shoe. His name is on that shoe.
Yeah, so actually we think that's a benefit to him, because his likeness gets marketed by Nike.
No, his likeness, his name, is not in any way meaningful to Nike unless he scores 40 points a night, every night, beats Akeem as Rookie of the Year, makes All-Star and All-NBA team.
Okay, that would be exceptional, and you know, it is the NBA, so these are the best of the best.
Well, he has to be better. He will win championships, multiple championships, final MVPs. I know my son. All-Star selection, All-Star MVP, Defensive Player of the Year.
But ma'am, with respect, Sidney Moncrief is the Defensive Player of the Year. Adrian Dantley won the scoring title. They're not, you don't get to be Magic and Michael Cooper. It's basketball.
Yeah, but if he does it, he deserves to be compensated. You eat, we eat. That's all he's asking.
That's a fair point, but that's just not how business works. I mean, they invest the capital and they get the reward, and that's how it goes.
Well, maybe that needs to change. Because if he does what I think he's going to do, what you also think he's going to do, and what Michael knows he's going to do, then it won't be the NBA promoting my son. I promise you, it'll be the other way around. And in that case, he deserves a piece.
Mrs. Jordan, I understand what you're saying. I actually agree with you. But that's just not how it goes in this life. People like your son, people who work for a living, they don't let us own anything. We take the best we can get. And this is a great deal. This is the biggest deal this company has ever offered anyone, by far. Michael could blow out his knee next week.
Mr. Vaccaro, I agree that the business is unfair. It's unfair to my son. It's unfair to people like you. But every once in a while, someone comes along that's so extraordinary that it forces those reluctant to part with some of that wealth to do so not out of charity, but out of greed, because they are so very special. And even more rare, that person demands to be treated according to their worth because they understand what they are worth.
Or their mother does.
You purport to know a good deal about my son. You tell me. Is it me who believes in Michael, his name? Or am I just a healthy reflection of who he is and what he believes about himself? Isn't that why you came to my home?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now I'm going to put it to you plain once again. Michael will get $250,000 and a Mercedes-Benz that will be forgotten in a year. But he gets a piece of the revenue of the shoe and all future Air Jordan shoes. A shoe is just a shoe until my son steps into it.
So here's my question. Who does Matt Damon's character represent in the brokerage business? Brokers. What was he saying? No, we don't do revenue share. We keep all that. What did he say? That would upend the industry. Huh. Is that maybe why we went from 20,000 to 90,000 in 3 years? And who does the mom represent in the brokerage industry? Glenn Sanford. Glenn Sanford looked at the industry and said, yeah, I get it. That's the way it's always been done. That's not how we're going to do it anymore. Is this making sense to you? Yes. Okay. So how did this work out for MJ? Well, when he first did this deal in 1985, he made $5 million from the revenue share from every Nike shoe that was sold. Do you know how much money he made in 2023? $256 million. Because he chose to get a piece of the... That's right. What do you settle for? Pieces of plastic? Stop doing that shit. Nobody cares. Your little picture like this. Come on. Okay? What's also really interesting about Jordan, he's one of a handful of black billionaires on the planet. He's the only player to actually become a full majority owner so far. LeBron might do it too. Look at his net worth breakdown. Only 5% of his net worth came from his salary in the NBA. 5%. 32% came from endorsements. 62% came from revenue sharing. 62% of one of the richest athletes on the planet and people on the planet came from revenue sharing. That is something to think about. Huh. Who's the next example of somebody who's participated in a revenue share opportunity? This young man, everybody know who this is? I don't have to say who it is? Yeah, Messi, okay. So, Messi was offered $1 billion in active income. $1 billion to play in Saudi Arabia for 2 years. Okay? He turned it down. Now, you might be like, well, he's already got a ton of money, right? Why did he do that, though? Let's examine underneath. Why did he turn that down, and what deal did he accept anyway? He took a lower salary, about $70 million. Poor him, boo-hoo. But he got ownership in the team. Equity. I want you to write something down. You will never get rich trading time for money. You must own equity. Period. Think about people in your life that trade time for money and don't own equity. Their life becomes incredibly difficult as time progresses. Okay? He got equity. Do you know what else he got? What do you think it was?
Rev share.
He got rev share. He sure did. Do you know what he gets rev share on? Every jersey that's sold with his name on it. Do you know what else he gets revenue share on? Streaming with Apple. So wait a minute, let me get this straight. He turned down active income and signing a contract to lock him in for an extended period of time, turned that down for a salary plus equity plus revenue sharing. Let me ask you guys a question. How different is this example from brokerages offering you upfront money and ask you to sign a contract for 3 years? Oh, it's the same fucking thing. And guess what they don't give you? Equity or
Rev share.
How interesting. Guys, look around you. These examples are around you. You just don't think about them that way. Hey, if it's good for Messi, it's good for me. If it's good for Jordan, it's good for me. Right? What's the next example of a business whose economic model is revenue sharing? By a show of hands, how many people in the last 7 days have spent any time on YouTube? Show of hands. Everybody up, 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 up. Look around the room. It's like 90% of the room. Okay. I'm curious, does YouTube create any content? No. They are a platform. Okay, we understand this. Do brokerages sell any real estate? Which makes them a? Oh, how interesting. And do you know what YouTube said to their content creators? Because they recognized they had this issue, right? There was friction. Look, we need you and you need us. We're just a platform. We don't create any content. You guys create all the content, right? So the economic model they came up with is if you have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, we will give you half of the revenue that we generate from ads on your content. Here's my question to the room. Is that a scam? No. I'm sorry, is that a scam? No. Stop with the shit that it's a scam, because it's not. It's just an economic model called? How interesting. It's just an economic model called revenue sharing, and it caused 15-year-olds to become multimillionaires. Okay? Let's look at what's been happening since YouTube. Do you know in 2010, there were only 200 million users of YouTube? Today, 2.6 billion with a B. So when you mix a platform with revenue sharing, you have exponential growth. Huh. Look at the revenue. From 2010, they made $800 million. In 2022, 292 billion with a B. Ba-ba-ba. A billion is 1,000 million. It's hard for us to contemplate that big of a number. Okay? And let's look at what this opportunity has done for the people who have taken it seriously. How many people know who Mr. Beast is? Okay, ask your children. They all know who he is. Okay? Mr. Beast, net worth of 105 million. He makes $54 million from YouTube. From? YouTube. And revenue. Jake Paul, anybody know who he is? Yeah, like him or hate him? He made $45 million in 2022. From? How interesting. This other guy, I don't even know who he is. He's probably a video gamer, Mark Peeler, I don't know, 38 million. Rhett and Link, don't even know who they are, and I guarantee you they don't give two shits that I don't know who they are. Because they made $30 million last year from revenue sharing. Am I being clear that there are industries around us that do revenue share and the people that participate lead extraordinary lives? Are you guys getting this? Say yes. Yes. Okay, good. Because I believe that once you understand the scale and the scope of this opportunity, you will put more time and energy and effort behind it. Okay? So the next thing I want to talk to you about, which I see is a limiting factor for a lot of people, is an understanding of leverage. So when I say the word leverage to you guys, this is not a trick question. I'm genuinely interested in your answer. What comes up for you when I say the word leverage? Money, trading money. Okay, money, it's a form of leverage. What else? Labor. What else? Media. What else? Hey, isn't this interesting? You see how we're all like triangulating at the same base level? Truthfully, the majority of us in this room, this was me 19 months ago, I really understood two forms of leverage. One was labor and the other was capital. So let's walk through these different forms because you have to understand this to really see the scale and the scope of this opportunity. The leverage of labor consists of you having people that work with you or for you. Everybody can understand that, correct? Do you know why? It's been with us the longest. The Egyptian pharaoh could have built the fucking pyramids himself, but instead, with slave labor, he had 20,000 people do it for him. We understand you can get humans to do stuff on your behalf, correct? Okay. What's problematic with the leverage of labor? Why is it the lowest form of leverage? Limited. People wear out. People wear out. What else? Huh? You have to manage them. It's really a trap. What else? They got to eat. What else? They get sick, they get tired, they quit, they want more money, they switch company, right? So essentially it becomes a revolving door. And you manage humans. Okay? So lowest form of leverage is better than no leverage. Second highest form of leverage is capital, where you have money work for you. Why is capital superior to labor? 24/7, 7 days a week, doesn't get tired, doesn't get sick, doesn't quit. It is limited though in where it works. So if me and Carla, if we invest in an apartment building, it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Where? In that building. It's limited geographically, okay? But there's two new forms of leverage that are more powerful than labor and capital. Listen to what I just said to you. There are two new forms of leverage that are more powerful than labor and capital, and the richest people on the planet have used them over the last 30 years to do what it took people who use labor and capital 200 years to do because that's how strong they are. Archimedes said, if you give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, I can move the earth. You see, when I was selling all those homes and missing out on things with family, I had no leverage. Do you understand? The next highest form of of leverage is content. It's media. I'm curious, by a show of hands, how many people see me on a regular basis on media? You see that? I want you guys to understand something. Look at this, and this might be a little in your brain. Media is more valuable than money. Let that sink in for a second. Media is actually more valuable than money. Why would that be the case? Why is media more powerful than money? Never, right? So it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's not geographically constrained. It can work anywhere on the planet where there's an internet connection. Do you know I have somebody on a coaching call, a group coaching call from Dubai? Do you realize 200 years ago that would never fucking happen? Do you know 200 years ago the fastest way you can get information from one place to the next was a horse? That's legit. You used to be limited geographically with opportunities to where you were born and the village you lived in. Now I can use the internet to scour the billions of people on the planet to find the 100,000 that like your boy. Do you understand? It's permissionless leverage. Did you used to need permission to get on the radio? Yes. Yeah. And a lot of money. Do I need any permission to post a podcast? Nope. Did you need permission to get on TV? Yes. Back in the day? Yes, and it costs a lot of money or you had to be really talented. Do I need permission to post on social? No. Does it make sense as to why I'm posting 5 times a day on YouTube and 3 to 4 times a day on all platforms? Why? Because it's actually currency. Attention is currency. It's more valuable than money. Okay? And then the highest form of leverage is code. It's software. Why would that be superior to media? Why is software the highest form? No geographic boundaries, just like media. Yes, it costs no money to duplicate or replicate once you create it once. Okay? Let's think about the richest people on the planet. Oracle, Ellison, code. Zuckerberg, Facebook, code. Bezos, Amazon, code. Are you noticing a pattern? Okay? Elon Musk, code. Tesla's actually a data company and a software company. Okay? And PayPal before that was software. You have to understand these different forms of leverages because if I turn myself into like this hustle culture, I will outwork you. Rah! Where is that on this? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? If that's the only thing that's operating in my brain, you don't understand leverage and it's a 2x opportunity. You'll be stuck there. Okay? So, the next thing I need to know and understand is this thing called the opportunity ladder. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you an example from a different industry because it makes this one easier to understand. We'll bring it back to real estate. So let's say you do laundry for a living. Like you're the Heisman Trophy winner of doing laundry. How much leverage do you have? None, because you got to be there to do laundry, right? Now let's say you manage a laundromat. How much leverage do you have? I'm sorry? A little bit, not much, right? You got a few employees. Now let's say you own the laundromat. You have leverage, but you only have one form, labor. You're also limited geographically with who you can serve, because who can you serve if you own the laundromat? 15, 20 mile radius, right? That's it. So it's a limited opportunity. Let's call it $1 million opportunity, okay? Now let's say you franchise the laundromat. Who can you serve now? Anyone in the country. But you added a form of leverage, which was what? Capital, because you can use other people's money to build out other laundromats. Does that make sense? You took a $1 million opportunity, turned it into a $100 million opportunity by adding one form of leverage. That's how powerful these levers are. Now let's say you create a software that runs all laundromats, independent of whether or not they're in your franchise system or not. And it works all throughout the planet. And all you do is take like 5 cents of gross sales on every dollar. Now who can you serve? Anyone on the planet. And you turned, because you added the highest form of leverage, you turned a $100 million opportunity, turned it into a $1 billion opportunity. Are you guys with me? Say yes. Yes. Okay. So what is the equivalent of doing laundry in real estate? Wait a minute. Did you notice the energy in the room? I know it's late. We've been here for a while, but did you notice the energy in the room? I was like, what's the equivalent? You all, I felt your brains go, yeah, oh, fuck. It's doing deals. What's the equivalent of managing the laundromat? Nope. A team. Ooh. Managing the laundromat is a team. What's the equivalent of owning the laundromat? That's a brokerage firm. Limited geographically, you have labor, right? It's a limited opportunity geographically. What's the equivalent of franchising in brokerage? Keller Williams, Century 21, like these franchise models, right? Because they take a 6% royalty fee. They can do it anywhere in the country. They have the leverage of labor and other people's money to build out offices. Make sense? What's the equivalent of software? Now, before you answer, okay? I'm not talking YLOPO. I'm not talking Follow Up Boss. I'm not talking software that we use. I'm talking, remember, brokerages are just platforms. They don't sell any real estate. So what is a platform for processing transactions? Software in brokerage. EXP. It's just software that you can plug into for $150 and $85 a month to process your transactions. That is all it is. Let that sink in for a second. Stay with me. So this picture's of me, looking quite fit. And what I've been doing over the last 19 months is running up the opportunity ladder. I have let go of everything, it's 2x. I let go of $850,000 in income like this because I realized it was the lowest form of leverage. I started to bang on media on a regular basis, and I'm being really aggressive with the software. And as I do that, my life is getting easier. As I'm doing that, I'm not missing out on opportunities to spend time with relationships. As I'm doing that, I'm able to have a bigger impact on more people. So what is this? Why do I feel like the next 3 to 5 years is going to be the golden era of agent attraction? Couple things, okay? We have a lot of disruption happening in our industry, but this chart says it all. The company retained dollar to brokerage firms over the last 50 years has gone, meaning for every dollar that comes into the brokerage firm, they used to keep 50% of it, 50 cents. They are currently keeping between 10 and 11%. That is a massive compression of net. They only have 3 ways to deal with it. Who wants to give me some ideas of the 3 ways they have to deal with it? Raise fees, which they've been doing. What else? Volume, close up shop, volume. They got to do more ancillary services, or they have to get rid of staff and space. Do you know what EXP has done? Gotten rid of staff and space. Do you understand? This is called the facts. There's no way around this. You can give me all this other bullshit and all this other hype and stuff. Show me the money. In the short term, the stock market is a voting machine. I think. Do you know what it is in the long term? A fucking weighing machine. Who's making money? Right? This tells us that the majority of brokers are not making money. Now, this next stat is pretty wild. There's 120,000 brokers in the United States. 70% of them have less than 10 agents. 70%. What do we know about that broker? They are in production because they're not making no money otherwise. Volume went from 6 million to 3.9 million last year. So if you were that broker in production, not making any money off that, what would be the logical thing you would do? I'd want to go back into production full time. Correct? Or I would want to outsource the brokerage to something like a cloud-based brokerage firm who does all the paperwork and does all that stuff so you could just focus on attracting agents and doing deals. Is this making sense to you? Say yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then the last thing I believe, in my opinion, as to part of the reason why this is going to be the biggest opportunity of my lifetime and why I'm taking it so seriously, is this thing in game theory called a Schelling point. And what a Schelling point is if you have 2 competitors that can never speak to each other, with a high degree of probability, they are going to converge on the same thing with no communication. So in other words, let's say I'm selling widgets for $10 and Dan's selling widgets for $13. Do not be surprised in 3 to 5 years if we're both selling them for $12. We will converge on the same thing. Do you know what I see happening in the brokerage industry? We're all converging on the same thing, which is you have to get rid of staff and space. Nobody's talking to each other, but they're converging on the same thing, and they're converging on caps, and they're converging on equity and rev share. Does that make sense? Yeah. Without actually speaking to each other. So people have a choice, because I know that there's other cloud-based brokerages out there. And what I tell them is like, look, you could either go with something's proven at scale and profitable, $120 million in the bank, debt-free, and their stock pays a dividend, or a startup that's unproven, that makes no money. Does that make sense? So I'm laying out for you my logic in making the decisions that I have. And what has that done for me? So this is exactly 1 year ago. 1 year ago, I had brought in 25 agents that had turned into 64, and I made $3,587 in revenue share. Now, that's okay. It's not bad. How many doors would you have to own to get $3,500 a month in residual income at $500 a door? A bunch. That's a bunch of those down payments. So it's okay. It's not bad. Pays for housing, pays for perhaps some transportation. Here's where it is today, a year later. That number's actually a little light, but it's 233 agents, $14,800 last month. Guys, I need you guys to understand something. Yeah, that's right. $14,800 a month in residual income is the equivalent of $2.6 million invested at 6%. Do the math in your mind. How much of the 2.6 do you currently have? How much do you need? And how long would it take for you? And how many fucking houses that have cat farms? And how much time would you have to spend to get that? A lifetime? 20 years? 30 years? I did it in 19 months, and you could do the exact same thing. And this is my chart, okay? MJ has his chart. I promise you guys, my goal and objective is that my revenue share is going to dwarf the earnings that I made selling real estate over time, just like MJ did. Because I'm choosing a vehicle that compounds and is leveraged. And this is what's been happening. You could see up at the beginning, it started off in 2022 at $1,100. And in 2024, it's averaging between $15,000 to $16,000 a month. Now, this has allowed me, this vehicle, to no longer miss soccer games. It has allowed me to make investments in personal relationships. It has allowed me to start a Bible study because I have time for it. It's allowed me to take care of my health. I was skinny fat before, okay? Like out of shape because I was pouring all of my energy into selling real estate in high volume. It's allowed me to reclaim time. So I implore you, okay? If you are in this room and you're an elite builder, make a plan to attract one agent for the next 12 months. Find me in 5 years when this room has 2,000 people in it and thank me. If you are not with us, okay, find somebody in the room that invited you. If you want to have a confidential conversation about it, we're more than happy to do so because we're going to thousands, just like Drake says. We'll do it with you or we'll do it without you. Either one's fine. But I feel supremely confident. I know I speak for myself and the rest of the leadership team here, as you've seen, like selflessly flying from, out of the country, not being paid to do this. Right? Flying all over the country to pour into you guys and add value. Like we're all here to do that. And what I'd like to do to, end our time together in this section is I'm going to end our meeting the same way I end all my meetings with 2 claps and a Ric Flair. So that requires everybody stand up. Okay? Now, if you don't know what 2 claps and a Ric Flair is, what it consists of is I'm going to say, give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair. And the way that this works, okay, we don't want to mess this up, is when I say, give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair, it's going to go clap, clap, and then let it all out. Woo! Like that, okay? Yeah. Everybody get this? Say yes. Yes. Come on, I want the energy. And I want the people upstairs to be like, what the fuck are they doing down there? Okay? So everybody get this? Say yes. Yes. Okay, good. Ooh, you feel the energy? I fucking love it, bro. I love it. You ready? Give me 2 claps to the Ric Flair. Listen, we appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for coming out, Gabrielle.
So we both agree that going to closings is an absolute, unequivocal waste of time. Is that right?